Curtis here in Colorado, who's been waiting online here. Hey, Curtis, can you hear us?
Hey, Curtis.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Going all right. Welcome to the first episode of Truth Wanted in 2020. You're our first caller. How's it feel, Curtis?
I'm pretty nervous, actually.
Don't be nervous.
Here for you guys.
Well, we're excited to have you talk to us. What did you want to talk to us about today?
So I wanted to talk about my quote-unquote out-of-body experience.
Okay.
And what some would call astral projection.
Yes, astral projection.
So
What is
back in the day,
for people who aren't familiar, Curtis? What would you say astral projection is? Like, what would you say your definition is?
So astral projection, you could call it kind of like an ability to leave your body and travel what some would call the astral plane.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting. Some people would call it like an out of body experience. That feeling if you ever. It's a pretty unique thing where it feels like you're leaving your body and you go
like going to another dimension almost, right? I've heard different things. I guess there's different pop culture ideas of it. I've seen some where it's like you feel like you're seeing yourself out of body. I've heard stories where people astral project and they go on another plane of existence and talk to, I don't know, Satan or an angel or other stuff like that. But you're saying, Curtis, that you yourself had an out of body experience.
Oh yeah. Like I said, back in 2006 when I was just kind of experimenting with self-hypnosis and had a really bad sleep schedule in college. I would fall asleep. I would basically wake up and be unable to my body and see these crazy, crazy things. Like I saw aliens. I saw shadow people. And then later I would leave my body and then I'd travel. I would open up my door to my dorm and the hallway would open up to this infinite space, and I would be able to leave my just basically shed my body, become a mode of light, and travel the astral plane, what some people would call it.
Wow. Okay. And so, do you believe now, today, that is literally what was happening to you, that some version of you was traveling through some sort of other dimension or astral plane?
Or do you think you were messing with your brain chemistry?
God, a lot of it's brain chemistry. It's funny because when it was happening, I was actually just found a little show called Basic Experience back in 2006.
Yeah, I never heard of it. I don't know it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
who cares about that show?
Yeah.
But anyway, I basically was also studying my major in psychology, and I was doing some brain biology classes. I think without those, I could easily have believed in this stuff.
So
it could have been it feels pretty real.
So what do you attribute to those experiences now that you've kind of read more on the topic?
So I think a lot of it is just, part of it is brain chemistry. Our brains aren't the most reliable things in the world. Our perceptions can be altered with chemicals. Heck, what I was doing, I didn't have any I wasn't doing drugs, but it's still, with lack of sleep, and if you mess with your sleep schedule and try to kind of hypnotize yourself, it's going to probably mess with you a little bit.
What do you think, Eric?
And
what do I think?
Yeah.
Well, I actually have, so I had an out-of-body experience.
Did you?
I did. It was back when I was trying different shamanistic drugs because I wanted to get in touch with the collective unconscious.
Well, time out. What's a shamanistic drug? Is that different from regular drugs?
It is.
You got to go to the shamanistic CVS to get those drugs?
Honestly, you got to know a guy.
Okay.
No, I'm talking about things like ayahuasca, peyote.
Oh, shit. You did peyote?
I don't want to talk about it.
Okay.
I do want to talk about salvia divinorum.
Okay.
Salvia is much less of a burdensome thing.
All right.
But and actually that's what I had my out-of-body experience on is I had a sitter, and all of that, made sure I wasn't around sharp objects. And then I took a big hit of salvia and I looked up and I was flying over the Santa Monica Pier. And I could see the people on the beach, and I could see the waves in the ocean, and I could see the carousel and yeah. But afterward, I didn't think I actually went there.
Yeah.
I knew that this was me messing with my brain chemistry because the experience was entirely limited to the amount of time that I was on the drug that I knew was going to cause something like that.
Yeah, and you had other people around you too that could see you, right? Like,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, but the claim of astral projection definitely doesn't necessarily.
I guess that's true,
Yeah,
right? I guess like the claim for people who really believe in astral projection is like
There's
your
a spirit
soul,
itself,
your
yeah.
soul travels, your body still stays, but like there's another part of you that's kind of traveling around like Peter Pan, and
Yeah, and so that's kind of what I was curious about, Curtis. I was really curious when you were talking about it. Is I wanted to see how your experience was different from my experience, because
That's so. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
oh no, I was gonna say because ultimately, I would want to know how to tell the difference between messing with your brain chemistry and having that kind of unreliable experience.
yeah.
And how to tell that apart from this thing that's called astral projection. Like how do you falsify that kind of claim? And
Yeah,
so-
what was your method in determining, Curtis, that it was just brain chemistry and it wasn't actually something spiritual or otherwise going on?
Well, first, I mean, in the end, it's a subjective experience. It's a claim you can never really objectively prove. I mean, I was able to duplicate the physical experience like multiple times just through meditation, and I would test it. I would try to change, like when I would leave my body, I would try to move things around the room. I would ask my roommate when I saw him get abducted by aliens, "Hey, did you get abducted by aliens last night?" And he was like, "Nope." So a lot of that, I mean, was kind of like, well, like it seems almost like, I don't know if you guys ever heard of lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
But it's almost like a very intense lucid dream.
So were but you were awake during all these experiences, right? You weren't asleep?
Well, the thing is, yes, but the technique is called a wild or awake-induced lucid dream.
Okay.
Basically, what you do is meditate. You try to trick your body to fall asleep while your mind's awake. That will hit you with sleep paralysis.
Paralysis, I think is what you're looking for.
Paralysis,
right?
thank you, sir. And then the experience would kind of hit. It's kind of funny because I've also, just recently, I've gotten back into doing a lot of research on this because of my experiences with some substances. But and I've also communed with my ceiling fan during the time.
You saw that episode, Curtis. I like you.
Yeah,
he's referring to. There was a time that I was also doing those drugs, and I communed with my ceiling fan.
Wait, really? I must have missed that episode.
Yeah, Curtis did not miss that episode.
I guess so. Yeah, huh? Commune with your ceiling fan.
It was happy to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So dude, I get it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's similar to those kind of like the psychedelic experience. I mean, it just kind of changes your brain chemistry, and you can have your perception just shift to wildly different places.
So let me ask you this, Curtis. Oh, sorry, I know you were talking, but I just want to know. So, like,
go ahead.
There's other people who they call them different things. I guess folks who are in like the drug use community. What do they call them? Something knots. Psychonauts. Thank you. So the psychonaut community, right? There's people who try to look at the stuff rationally, and there's other people who are like, nah, man, I was actually flying. My soul was up in the air, and I was seeing stuff like, if someone comes up to you, Curtis, and it has explains a similar situation to what you were at and said like, oh, I had this experience and stuff, and this was totally real. Like, what would you tell that person to help them kind of distinguish what could be real and what could not be real from these experiences? Because there's people like, I remember, there's people talking on like the Joe Rogan podcast and stuff who are talking about this stuff and who are saying like, yes, like there's aliens out there, and the only way we can talk to these aliens is if we do these drugs because we can our brains can access like these other 90%. Dimensions. Yeah. So what's your take on this, Curtis? Like how would we have conversations with people Because I'll be honest, I do not have as much drug experiences as probably the two of you have. I guess I'm more green to it. So it's like I don't have the first person point of reference for a lot of that kinds of stuff. So I don't know.
It sounds like Eric should help you find a shaman then if you ever want to.
I don't know if I want to go to where Eric's been going to. That shamanistic CVS sounds scary.
So you know what? Here's the thing. I have to say, first off, don't do drugs. Specifically,
unprescribed.
Don't do drugs that you don't understand and aren't and don't know how you're going to react. So if you are planning on trying to do something like that, and you think, hey, I'm at a party with 20 other people and I'm half drunk, that's a really fucking bad idea. Don't do that. If anything, if you are going to go down that route, research the shit out of it.
Yeah.
And then afterward, actually be safe. Find somebody who's willing to sit with your dumbass while you trip out and make sure you don't jump out a window. I actually talked to a girl who was getting really into salvia right around the time that I did. And she had this experience where she said she floated out of her body and flew up into the sky, and the sky unzipped like a zipper, and she...
It's like that episode of SpongeBob.
But there were two old men fighting, like arguing with each other, and it was God arguing with itself, and it was this like intense, profound moment, and then they came back to, and everybody was like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "Why?" And they're like, "You haven't stopped screaming for 5 minutes."
Oh my God. That's another question. So I'm sorry, I'm interrupting.
No. You just have no fucking idea.
So people tell me they get these like profound things from out of it. They have these experiences and they feel these things. Like, could anything be profound in it? Like, could you just stare at a block of cheese in a fridge and just get a profound experience if you're on the right drugs? Like, is it just the drugs that kind of...
Dude, my feeling was pretty profound.
Your what was pretty profound?
My ceiling fan was pretty profound.
Oh, your ceiling... Yeah, well,
so
that's
was
true.
Mine, actually. Curtis, I think we would get along.
I think so too.
We can bond over our mutual appreciation of ceiling fans.
Yeah. Have you ever guys seen the episode of the Chili Cook-Off Simpsons episode by chance?
No.
Where Homer eats some really bad shit. Like, you guys got one.
Yes, I did. When he coats his tongue in wax.
Yeah. The wax. And he goes off and sees a spirit animal up in the sky.
Mm-hmm.
I'd hate to say it, but my first ever experience was I did not do it properly, and that very similar thing happened to me.
Wow.
But instead of a fox, instead of talking fox, I saw talking octopus. But that's fine.
Well,
that sounds scary. I don't know.
It's something you don't do for fun. I say that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, I was desperate to try and find God at that point. I was truly desperate because I couldn't conceive of a world where there wasn't one. And so I was going for anything.
Huh. And I wonder how much desperation plays into people's experiences too. Like the current emotional turmoil they're finding, and then they get answers through their experience. You know what I'm talking about? Like
I do.
What's going on? Did I say something? Did I say something weird? Am I just...
No. I will drag you down a rabbit hole that you will not be able to get out of.
Okay, well,
no, we'll talk about it over.
Okay, regardless,
we're on Discord.
Yeah, that's true. So I don't know. Drugs can do crazy things to you. I don't think you should rely on your experience with drugs to tell you about things in reality, right? Like I guess
that are true about the world. Yeah.
Yeah, you can get profound moments, and maybe you can get something that helps you. But I guess I wish people were just more cognizant of the fact that, hey, you were on drugs.
Yeah.
That thing wasn't you didn't actually fly on the moon or whatever.
It didn't put money in your bank account, and it definitely didn't make you wiser.
It seems like that's a thing I see where it's like, oh, this actually happened to me. And if more people did drugs, they'd see the same thing. It's like, I feel like if I did drugs, I'd be chill for 24 hours, and then I just live my life again. I don't know. Maybe that's not true. Maybe I need to do more drugs. But
well, with it becoming decriminalized, I'm just warning you guys. I'm sure Eric's already going to be aware, but this is going to become, this like spirituality thing is going to become way more common.
Oh, I bet.
Sorry.
I bet.
And that is job security for us.
Right? Yeah, I guess so. We get people calling in while they're high and stuff, and then
Really?
it'd be. I don't know. It could happen,
Yeah.
right?
I'm sure I've had a number of them call in. Hi.
That's right.
Yeah.
I'm sure I have too. But anyway, Curtis, I want to thank you for calling in today and talking to us about your experiences and your revelation post those experiences and what they mean to you now. That was really interesting to talk about.
Absolutely.
Oh no, the human brain's a fascinating machine. Thanks,
Sure is. Yeah. Well, you have a great rest of your night.
Take care, brother.